So I got it this morning. I wouldn't play golf.
Yeah.
And I wore these, and it's cool, right? So I got, I was in the closet. Wifey was like, hey, are those black or blue? I looked down and said they're black. So I got these on, and then I got a black Nike shirt on. You know, it's cool out this morning and everything. And I get to the golf course. I look down. I'm like, man, come on. I got blue on and black. Was nowhere. Bro, I literally felt old. Like one of those old men that don't give a damn about, you know, what they're wearing. I was like, man, did I literally walk into that phase? Welcome back to another great episode of the VisionLab podcast in partnership with Nexum Creative. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. The VisionLab is the official growth mindset podcast for all visionaries worldwide, showing mad love to the Cigar community. It's here in the lab where we uncover people's visions and dreams and how those dreams actually come into reality. Folks, it's all about tapping into and becoming the absolute best versions of ourselves through self-discovery, self-examination, and self-actualization. Hey, yo, Mo, who we got on the show today?
Cuff, today's guest is a native of Little Rock, Arkansas. She is a graduate of many universities and holds a lot of different degrees, as we just got through discussing. She is the owner of the location where we are actually filming / recording this location. That is Golden Alignment PLLC. Did I say that correctly?
Correctly.
Please welcome Dr. Tiphanie Hall to the VisionLab podcast.
What up, what up, what up?
Thank you for having me.
Well, good morning.
No, don't get humble now. Don't be humble now.
I'm called.
I told you. I met you 10 minutes ago and I like you, Doctor. Just keep being who you were.
Hey, listen, and like you said earlier on, man, we met at Joe's event. He partnered, I cannot remember the name of the other group, the women's running group.
Oh, Soul Sisters.
Soul Sisters.
The Run Club.
Soul Sister Run Club. And instantly we connected, and I didn't know that, you know, she was, you know, my Greek sister. But just an amazing experience. Love the energy, love the vibe. And I want to say a special shout out to Joe at Mind Over Mileage, as well as Soul Sisters. I thought it was an amazing event. Thank you for having me. And that's obviously where we met. And we struck up a conversation, and you had this chair out there, and you could put your legs in this thing. And I'm like, okay, what is this? And so we started talking about what you do, and that's being a chiropractor, right? So first and foremost, thank you for being on the show. But how did you get into all of this, you know, world of chiropractic?
So long story or short story. Let's go with the short version. So initially,
we got time.
We have time.
We don't answer anybody. You can say what you want to.
No. So it's kind of a sad story. So we'll make it short. I initially was going to school to be a heart surgeon. And during my senior year of college, my brother was murdered.
Oh.
But the day before he was murdered, we were having a conversation about life choices and why did I want to be a heart surgeon? Was it a true desire, or if it was something that I thought, I guess, would make everyone proud? So we are from Little Rock, Arkansas, from John Barrow, the hood. And so his thing was, he was kind of confused by if it was a love or if it was just like, oh, you were going to make it out. And so you had this expectation on yourself. Right. And so he kind of talked about doing something that I really, really loved. And he's like, what do you love? And I was like, sports, of course, football, basketball, you know. And so we had this conversation on a Saturday. On the Sunday, my brother was murdered.
Wow.
Well, because of his passing, when I graduated from college, well, we went through a trial. And during the trial was my senior of college. And so my grades were like dropping fast. So this 4.0 student that could probably go to any medical school I desired to, my grades were dropping rapidly. I was advised to maybe take some time off. So I decided to take some time off. And my take some time off meant getting a master's degree. So something that wasn't as hard, I guess, like I could probably do in my sleep. So I went and got a master's. The first course I took while getting my master's degree was Introduction to Public Health.
Okay.
And they talked about complementary alternative medicine. And chiropractors fell under that niche. Well, I think typically in the African American community, we know chiropractors to be those who assist with car wrecks. And so that was my thought process. And I was like, I'm not fooling with it, you know? And then I found out that there were subspecialties and I could be a sports chiropractor. But the biggest thing with that was there are not people that look like myself, one from the perspective of being a African American, but as well as being a female.
Yes.
And so I had this thought process, like the irony of having this conversation with my brother. Things happen the way they do, and then this happens. And so I came home and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be a heart surgeon. I think I'm going to be a chiropractor, but I'm going to be a sports chiropractor, and it's going to be a household name, and it'll travel near and far, north, east, south, and west around the world. People will seek me out to come get adjusted. And that's pretty much the story of how I became a chiropractor.
Listen, there's a lot to unpack there, and I don't want to bring up the death, and obviously that's very tragic, but that's an impactful moment. How important was your brother to you?
So my brother and I are 17 months apart.
Okay.
So he was my best friend, but I also grew up in a single parent household. So my brother was like a dad.
Sure.
So even though he was less than 2 years older than me, he was still the person that taught me, you know, the first form of love from a man. Yeah. Which a lot of us seek out in a different form because we don't have that dad role. He was also my protector. Yeah. And so it was a significant impact, you know, with losing him.
And I can relate to that. My sister and I are 18 months apart. So definitely understand that. Wouldn't call us best friends, but we certainly understand, you know, each other, and there's a yin and yang element to it. So you go through your senior year of college, still are rocking it out at school, but grades are suffering to where maybe you don't need to go into medical school. You decide to go out and get a master's. And we had this conversation offline, but the value of education is obviously important in your life, right? The impact that your brother had on you was a big moment in your life. Is it one of those things where you should go get an education, or you go find your passion and go after what you're passionate about?
So I would honestly say if your passion requires education, then you should go after education. But I think growing up, we're taught like you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to go to college, and if you don't go, then you're kind of a failure. And I think that's inaccurate. Yeah. And so I think it's more important to find out, you know, what your passion is. I even encourage young adults to take some time. Like, don't go straight out of high school. If you're not for sure, like, hey, I know for a fact I want to be an engineer, or I know for a fact I want to be a lawyer. These are professions that do require professional licenses. Then, of course, then go ahead and start knocking it out because it's going to take a while. But if you're like, I don't know, and someone's pressuring you, I mean, you want to think about literally what's killing most of us right now, the cost of debt. I mean, to go to school is astronomical. So if it's not something you're passionate about, I would advise.
You know, it's crazy because I was literally having this conversation because I actually am 100% aligned with you. Unless it's a specialized, you know, field that you're interested in, doctor, lawyer, engineer, something like that. I think where we are in the world right now, or at least in the States, it's not required, right? Why put yourself in anywhere between 30 to 150, if not more, $1,000 worth of debt, only to try to find a job and work there for, you know, your 9 to 5 and be a slave to the clock so you can pay that debt back. Right. You know what I mean? But I bring that up because you've been in the workforce for a while. And here you are, you've got this beautiful practice and establishment. But what I love about what you've done is that, when did you start this business for people that don't know?
So Golden Alignment was started October of 2020. So in the middle of a pandemic. Not even in the middle, it's like the end. So we were really going through it at that point. They were trying to figure out stuff. And I started Golden Alignment in the middle of a pandemic.
But not only that, you also have a full-time job.
I do. I have a full-time job. I work at several hospitals all over America. You can find me anywhere. I'm a neurophysiologist, so I work in surgery with orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, and vascular surgeons, and precisely direct them through anatomy. So if they get to a point where they're trying to take out a brain tumor and they're not exactly sure if this is a nerve, then they kind of call on Dr. Tip and say, hey, what is this? What am I touching? And so, yeah, and there is no 9 to 5 there. It's kind of all over the place. We take call. So, yeah, I have a full-time job and a full-time business.
When do you sleep?
What is sleep?
Right?
I'm kidding, guys. You should definitely sleep. Sleep can get you in a lot of trouble if you're not getting any. But, yeah, I would say on a good day I may sleep 4 hours. Some days we get 2 hours and we get it done.
Why the name Golden Alignment?
Golden Alignment, because of course everything is aligned with God. The bigger thing with Golden Alignment was when I was in chiropractic school, I was pretty broke. I was really broke. So my parents were not able to send me to chiropractic school, so I was funding my life with credit cards. And I remember this crazy faith, and I said, I'm going to drive where I would one day want to live. And so I drove to downtown Dallas. I was out in Capel, living off of, what do they call it, like socioeconomic status living. So even though I lived in Capel, I didn't pay the price of the Capel pricing because they had the equal opportunity pricing, housing. And I drove to downtown Dallas, and I remember looking around, and I had been praying to God to give me a name of what I would one day want my practice to be. And I looked up, and there were lights, and it was December, and there were Christmas lights, and they were gold. And I saw the lights, and I thought about it, and I said, okay, gold lights. And then I thought about when I was getting my master's, whenever you do research, in order for it to be top tier, the best research ever is called the golden standard. And I said that I would have the golden standard of healthcare with Golden Alignment. At the time, we didn't know it was Golden Alignment, but I knew that my chiropractic practice would be the standard, kind of like Chick-fil-A. Okay. And I created Golden Alignment with Chick-fil-A in mind, and I said, hey, so this will be the Chick-fil-A of all chiropractic care. And so wanted everything to be aligned, the foundation being God. And so Golden Alignment was formed, and that's where the name came from.
So it's funny you mentioned it, right? You've got a very strong and resolute faith in regards to the basis of the practice and all that. You're operating in this space, like you said earlier. There's not a lot of us in here, as far as one being an African American, two being a woman. Like you know, you stand out when you walk into a room. How do you manage, like, hey, I'm upfront about it. This is a faith-based practice, but at the same time, this is also a business. How do you manage that to where it's not? Because we're in a space now where people want to hold that against you sometimes. How do you manage that?
I think that, and I tell anyone I talk to, whether it's another doctor, that's a young doctor, but people in general. So although Golden Alignment is a faith-based practice, it's also a safe space. And so what that means is everything that I do it out of a space of love. And so someone can walk in here, and although Golden Alignment is a faith-based practice, you don't have to be a believer. Will I talk to you about God? Yes. Will I push him on you? No. And so that means that I accept everyone for who they are. And, you know, I tell them what I believe, and that's my beliefs, but that doesn't mean that you have to believe that way or feel the same way that I do. And so it goes over pretty well with people because I'm an open-minded Christian. I'm a very transparent Christian, you know.
So you started in October of 2020, like I said, in the heat of a pandemic. We ask this all the time on the show. There's a fork in the road or a watershed moment. When did you know, okay, this is actually going to stick? Like, is it going to work?
What happened? So we were literally, I don't know if you guys remember, in Dallas, they shut us down, and they shut us down so bad. It was like you go to work if you're going to work, and then you're going home. And so outside of that, all I was doing was going to work. And then when I wasn't at work, I was losing my mind because we were seeing, I mean, these 18-wheelers where they were literally throwing bodies outside from these people passing, right? And so I was about to lose it. And I was running 3 to 5 miles a day, and I was cycling around White Rock Lake and doing about 30, 40 miles. And in that time, I was like, this can't be life. And I saw the need because I knew that the body had an ability to heal itself. And so although I work in surgery, and there's a place for that too, but there's also a real place for healing, you know? And so we saw these people that was like, okay, there's this disease that's running rampant throughout not only, you know, America, but the world, and there's no cure. But what could make people, you know, fight this off was if they had a strong immune system. And I was like, okay, so I went to school and I have all this knowledge, but I'm not applying it. And God had already been tugging at the beginning of the year. But when the pandemic happened, it was to me a blessing in disguise because I was afraid. And I didn't want to start the practice because I was scared. So it was a perfect opportunity to chicken out. I was like, oh, now I don't have to do it because there's a pandemic, you know, blah, blah. But he kept tugging and tugging and tugging. And, you know, it's unfortunate what happened to a lot of people. But the pandemic for me was a blessing in disguise because I was able to find a place that was low in cost. And it was just a dream. And I was like, what if I just tried it? You know, what if I really tried it and it happened? And people talked about it like, give it a shot. I think God is going to pull you back and let you go. And it's going to take off. And it did.
That's resounding. It's amazing. So a lot of people that come on the show talk about how important it is to take action, to act. And I don't know how long you were quote unquote on the sideline, right? But after God had been tugging at your heart for X amount of time, you finally decided to move. What's your advice to people that are on the fringe, that are on the cuff, that are looking to, you know, implement or their dream and start living out their dream?
So I think that first and foremost, writing a vision and making it plain.
Habakkuk 2:2.
Listen. And so what happened when I looked backwards and didn't even realize, I had wrote in school because they made us write these business plans. So on my business plan back in school, I said that my practice was going to open in 2020.
Whoa.
And so I have this habit of literally writing things, and I had no clue. And you know, I always write these vision boards out, and I tell people, I said, everything that I've ever put on my vision board has come to pass, and if it hasn't come to pass, it's coming to pass.
That's right.
Only because I've seen it happen.
Listen, it's the Vision Lab. We talk about vision board. We had a vision board party back in February. I don't think people understand that it's real. Like it works. It legitimately works.
And I tell people, you know, like I said, it's literally about respecting individuals, right? So I tell people, okay, so what? You don't believe in God. That's perfectly fine. The principle is the same. Mm-hmm. We talk about The Secret all the time. I tell people when they're afraid to do something, and this is a person that literally was afraid to start this practice, but I could tell people to do stuff that I wasn't willing to do. But I tell everyone, every quarter I watch The Secret, because it retaps into something for me to remind me that this can happen for me. And I think that's the biggest thing. People don't have vision because they can see it happening for other people, but they don't believe that they're good enough for it to happen for them.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And so for me, I think that literally I would advise someone to write the vision, because if it's there on paper, that's the first battle. You know, you have to be able to see it. And the second battle is to be willing to ask. Ask any and everyone that you can around you. Use your resources. You know, it's a lot of people that can help you get to where you need to get to, but we're too afraid to ask.
So we speak the same.
Man, well, I told you she's amazing.
Good job.
Absolutely
Good
amazing.
job,
a lot of people that listen to the show, they've heard us talk to entrepreneurs, but I really, and business owners, I want you to break it down on an elementary level in terms of what you experience, because this is super fresh on your mind, on what you had to go through, you know, from January or whenever that moment was until October when you actually launched and got the space, etc. Like, what can people expect, and what are some of the things that they have to do? Like, they know that, you know, you got to get an LLC, right? Pay your $330 or whatever that is, right?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is to expect kickback. Don't expect everything to go smoothly. I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen happen. A lot of people are like, oh, maybe this isn't for me because I tried to find a space and no one responded to me. So I think the first thing is to expect to be to be patient and have time to go through the process. Mm-hmm. Of course, we talk about the business side of things, so making sure that you formate, properly. Don't run underground businesses, which for some reason we seem to do.
We don't want to pay those taxes.
Let me tell you about that. So there's a blessing and curse in that as well. We don't want to pay those taxes, but if you do it the right way, you cannot pay those taxes legally. I mean, you literally just have to read and remember what they tell us all the time, why they put it in a book.
Mm-hmm. Best place to hide it.
because they know we're not going to read it. But fortunate for us, we don't have to read books anymore. So it's just there. People are just lazy. They just don't want to do the work, you know.
But they have this vision of making it happen.
I mean, they want the outcome. They don't want the late nights and the early mornings, and you know. So I think the biggest things is to format your business correctly and properly, to make sure you properly keep your books at all times, so that you don't run into any issues, because properly keeping your books can help you avoid paying taxes legally. Because if you document, because startup cost is going to be quite a bit, and then also do research about grants and stuff, things that can help you so that you don't need out of pocket, you know, startup cash, or even ask for angel investors, you know.
Real quickly, because I know you got a question that you want to ask her, but where can they go to find a grant? Like I want it to be a blueprint.
So I would say, depending on what type of business you're going to start, the best place that we know you can get really good funding would probably be the SBA.gov website. You can get small business grants, and it's very beneficial because they're always helping you, and it's unique because after you take grants and loans and stuff, they'll come back and tell you, hey, we see you qualify for this, because they'll know you have a certain type of business. So once you take a grant from them, they'll kind of register you and tell you other grants that you qualify for.
And then lastly, and then I'm gonna kick it over to you, is you mentioned that you can get grants, and
well, the cool thing about the grants is some of those grants, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have to pay them back either.
None of you have to pay them back. But some of the loans you don't have to pay back.
And angel investors, where can they find angel investors?
Everywhere, like here, Golden Alignment, VisionLab. So you find other like-minded people that believe in your dream. But in order for us to believe in your dream, you have to believe in your dream yourself. You sell yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
So you literally find other people that have been through the struggle, and they're willing to give back because they know what it felt like to go through the struggle.
Before I switch gears, allow me to say thank you to all the people who help us every day of the week, who has helped us get to this point. Obviously, Edwina Brown and the family of Blowin Smoke Cigar Lounge. Congrats on the new location, EB. The good folks at KLASE VODKA. Crystal and Tim, thank you guys so much for your product. Visionaries, we stand by it for a reason. The Instagram handle is at KLASE VODKA. That's KLASE VODKA. And obviously the good folks at Leaf LLC. You know, if you're looking for cigars, charitable events, entertainment, whatever it might be, the Instagram handle is at Leaf LLC. The web address is DallasLeafLLC.com. A chiropractor. Is it the actual cracking of the bones? Is it the, lining somebody up on this table that's on the opposite side of the camera? Like, what is the favorite part for you of being a chiropractor? And you just can't say helping people.
Of course not helping people. I think the favorite part for me is the education. I think literally seeing people walk in here, and the number one thing I hear, Ryan, is you're my last hope. I have tried everything and you're my last hope. And that's unfortunate, because to have spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying other things, and then you come here and it's like, yeah, I got you. And they get up and walk out of here, but they limped in, or they can't tie their shoe, and now they can tie their shoe. So for me, I think it's education, because you reach one, you teach one, and then hopefully they go teach someone else. So literally by me reaching one person and they teach someone else and someone else, I think education is probably my favorite part.
What are some of the things that you see in terms of people coming in here, like injuries, and what are some common things that you consistently see? So because Golden Alignment is a sports practice, majority of my injuries are rotator cuff injuries, a lot of low back injuries from people improperly lifting weights, especially my CrossFitters. We have a lot of runners that have plantar fasciitis issues, knee issues, hamstring issues. So majority of it is muscle and probably ligament issues that we see here in Golden Alignment. And we would be remiss if we're this far into the show if we haven't said, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get to Golden Alignment? Like what your website, social media, everything. Okay. So Golden Alignment is located here in Dallas, Texas at 8330 Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway. And we can be found on the internet at www.thegoldenalignment.com. And we can also be found on social media on Instagram as well as Facebook at Golden Alignment. Do you manage all those accounts? I do, unfortunately. So earlier Mo asked this question about sleep, and you said on a good night, 4 hours. Yeah. Walk us through a day in the life of Dr. Hall. Ooh, okay. So alarm goes off around 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. Get up, go to the hospital, perform a surgery.
So on a good day, a short surgery could be a thyroid case, so that may take me about 45 minutes to an hour. On a bad day, we're talking about a scoli or a trauma, someone being thrown from a vehicle, drunk driver. That can be anywhere from 15, 18 hours. On a practice day, we'll go from the hospital at 4 p.m., come to the practice. Practice is typically open till about 8 to 10 o'clock at night, because we like to make sure that we have convenient hours for anyone that's looking. Then we're here, and then people think that the light shut off, and it doesn't. So once we finish actual patient care, I go into charting, making sure everything is documented properly, or those requests that people ask, making sure they also have home stretches, send those out maybe midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, when they're getting these happy emails from Dr. Tip about stretching, drinking their water, make sure things are okay. Or my patients have the luxury, they all have my number. Oh, so there, yeah. So I'm now responding to messages, and they know, put your phone on silent, because you may get a text message from me at 2 o'clock in the morning responding to a question that you may have had. So literally we're up charting, doing notes, and always learning. So if there's something new out there for me to find out that can help me be a better person, decrease myself so that I can be increased for them, I'm studying, learning, reading at night, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again.
How do you recharge your battery? And I asked it in the sense of, you know, Cuff and I are 1,000 miles an hour every single day of the week. And like me personally, what I'm into now is on Sundays, I don't talk much. Like once I get past my virtual church service, I don't talk much. Like I literally, at first my wife's kind of freaked out by it. She's like, "Where'd you go?" I kind of just stopped talking, because I know what I put out, you know, Monday through Saturday. So for somebody who, like you said, on a good day, it's 4 hours of sleep, and you might see an open body at the first part of the day, and you come here and crack people's backs. How do you recharge your battery?
That's an interesting question, because if I may be honest, I haven't figured it out. Golden Lineman's been open since October. We are in April, and my body is definitely feeling it. I haven't figured that out. I'll be very honest and frank with you, because I work 7 days a week. So the hospital is Monday through Friday. Golden Lineman is Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then I take call at the hospital as well. And so I haven't figured that out.
Why do you do what you do?
Question is, why not? I mean, there's so many people that need help. And it's so many people that need help that look like us. And there are so many people that don't look like us that want to offer help, but it's not genuine. I mean, the biggest thing I tell people is literally we're a unique body. We have diseases that others don't have. So I do what I do because I know my population, I know my people. I don't exclude others. I can help others just as well. But could you imagine if you had a daughter or a son, to be able to bring them in here and then to see someone that looks like them? When I grew up, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. So most of my older generation, like my parents or grandparents, they don't trust doctors. So now we're creating this place where they know you can trust, because they see someone that looks like them, that pray to God that they're not gonna lie, or So I think I do what I do because why not?
And I love that answer. I also love the fact, because you just brought something up that I want to tap into, and that is the little girl that now goes to a doctor's office, a clinic, what have you, and she can look and see someone in a white lab coat, right, that looks like her. What does that mean to you?
Opportunity. The future changing. They're our future. So it looks like I may be okay. The book may change it with me. Someone can actually take care of, and we don't go into this world wondering what it's going to look like when we're 60 or 80 years old, like who's going to take care of us. So it looks like change to me. It looks like opportunity.
There's only one of you. Cuff asks this question between me and him all the time. We're talking about whatever our next plans may or may not be. It's two-part. One, is there a plan to franchise? And two, if so, how do you plan on duplicating yourself?
There is definitely a plan to franchise. So so funny you should ask a question, because we're actually growing right now. So the plan is to, like I said, once again, make it like Chick-fil-A. So although there is several Chick-fil-A's all over.
There's more than several.
Right. Hundreds, maybe thousands of Chick-fil-A all over. The goal is always the same. Customer service, quality care, in a faith-based practice. And so I plan to literally go into every single practice and teach every single doctor how to perform an, amazing care. You can be an awesome doctor, but not, have the personable, spirit that you need, or the bedside manner.
So no bedside manner.
Yeah. And so that won't work to go in alignment. The customer literally is always right. The patient is always, our CA is here and she'll tell you, I said, I don't care how bad it gets, they're always right. And I truly believe that,
How do people, obviously you take insurance, right? But are you one of those people like, hey, insurance, private pay? Like, how does that, how do you, because we're talking about running a business, and you pointed out to earlier, like, I got to make sure my books are in order. How do you structure that?
So Golden Alignment is a private pay office. We do not accept insurance. We do take HSA and FSA only. That's a whole nother conversation for another day on why we don't take insurance, and I would love to talk about that one day. However, I use QuickBooks. And QuickBooks keeps track of everything. It allows you to categorize things and lets you know what's going on. I'm a little OCD too, if it's not evident. And so I literally go through my books every single day. I'm making sure nothing's being spent. Clearly it can't be spent by anyone else but me, unless something is going on where someone's hacked my card or something like that. But I'm constantly checking. I also structure my business where I only order things once a month, so it keeps everything in alignment. It allows me to know what's going out and what's going in a structured format. So we'll see how much we brought in at the end of the month before we start spending money at the beginning of the month.
Are you ever going to stop being part of the surgery group at the hospital and just do this?
I don't know if I can answer that question on camera. I think God is, if I may be honest, and they're understanding. I think they would more so be sad with the loss, but I think that everyone is well aware that this car is running pretty hard, and so I would say that it may be coming to a shop soon.
So, a new patient for Building Alignment, what can, other than quality customer care or patient care, what are some of the practices or things that you do for your patients? Like, what are some of the techniques that you'll teach them? So, this is an advertorial opportunity for you, right? So, like, people need to know, well, what can I get with Dr. Tip?
Okay. So here at Golden Alignment, once you come in for a new patient exam includes a thorough exam, which includes gait analysis, neurological testing, muscle testing, and we also include an adjustment. With that adjustment, if you need TENS unit, which is a stemming system for you, if you need heat, which most people do to relax the muscles, then we'll do that. We also have opportunities to do cupping. We have opportunities to do gua sha.
Gua sha?
Gua sha.
Time out. What's gua sha?
Sounds like a Japanese sushi.
Gua sha. Okay, so gua sha is a scraping technique. No.
Scraping what?
Yeah, so literally you're on the muscle, but you're trying to get to the fascia. So muscle is first, fascia is next, then you have the bone, right? And so fascia is this tight, fibrous band that lies underneath the muscle, which oftentimes gets tight. And when it gets tight, it can create trigger points. Okay. And when it creates trigger points, then we have to go in and kind of break those up.
So the scraping part.
Yeah. So you go in and you literally go back and forth and scrape the muscle. Now it sounds more painful than it actually is. Okay. So you put on, we call it a salve, which is kind of a smoothing thing. Oh, okay. And so we put it on, and so it allows the tool that we use to glide across the muscle. Gotcha. So you have an opportunity, and our patients love it.
Yeah, it sounds, there's another company out there that does stuff like this, and I cannot remember the name of it to save my life right now, but that was something that because I suffer from like real tight hamstrings.
I would love to get in those hamstrings.
Yeah. And so
I can just imagine it. I mean, just thinking about just breaking it all up.
Just hearing the bones crack.
I mean, it's just breaking it all up. I mean, getting these people up and off the table. Can you imagine having loose hamstrings?
Yes. Oh no. Man, listen.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just got a little excited.
Yeah. Well,
who works on you?
Huh?
Like my wife's a therapist, and she always says, "Who counsels the counselor?" Who works on the chiropractor?
Typically, I'll call or text another chiropractor if things get out of control. Okay. But for the most part, like I told you, we're pushing this car pretty hard. Like, no one.
Okay.
So you've got a number of different techniques that you offer. You just kind of ran through that. What are some other things that people need to know about, coming to like how often should they get adjusted and, that type of thing?
So before we move forward, I did want to include at the end of the adjustment or the treatment, the best part that everyone has ranted and raved about here, which is our best hidden secret that we will tell on camera. At the end of every adjustment is prayer. So I literally go into the spirit realm and I talk to God about whatever's going on in that person's life, and we pray. And if we have people that come in that aren't believers, because I do ask, because we respect everyone here, we ask if they're a believer. If they say no, we go into mindfulness, because I don't believe that the body can physically heal without the whole body. And so that looks like mental, spiritual, healing. And so that's important. So I want to add that in.
No, that is huge, and I'm glad you said that.
But if you may, re-ask your question for me. I probably threw you off, didn't I?
You did throw me off, because it's such a different thing. You're coming in with prayer, and you never hear of that in the medical space.
Yeah.
But Mo was asking, who aligned you. My question to you was, like, how often should patients come in?
Okay.
Once a quarter, once a year, and I understand there's variations too.
The biggest variation, of course, for someone that's not in a healthy state would be, of course, we would see them more frequently. But for someone in a wellness state, I typically tell my patients, if I give you a routine and you stick to the routine, meaning like whatever stretches I tell you to do at home, or maybe some type of implementation of diet changes, then I would like to see them once a month. And that's, healthy. These are wellness patients. Someone that's more so like a weekend warrior, we may see them once a week. Someone that's an athlete, a professional athlete, where they're getting paid and their body has to function, we see them maybe 2 to 3 times a week.
So we've reached this part of the show. It's called Landing the Plane. It's brought to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called land. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. You land the plane. Right?
Okay.
You've been on a ride. We're gonna land it nice and easy.
Okay.
This segment is brought to you by the good folks at Grand Brulot Cognac. We're in a doctor's office, so we don't have the bottle in here with us today for obvious reasons. But the Instagram handle is at Grand Brulot. That's BRULOT. We stand on the product for a reason. Thank you again to Francisco, the owner, Jameson, everybody at the Lovers team who has a hand in this partnership. It is you, Dr. Tip, at a round table, and there are 5 other people. Who do you want at your table? The only caveat is you can't have, whatever higher power you believe in. But outside of that, you can have anybody at your table.
5 people. Okay.
Dead or alive. So we'll make that a little bit more expensive.
Ooh, 5. Okay. This is it's putting me on the spot.
It's the whole purpose of it.
Okay, definitely I would say our guy over at Men Dentistry, because he has created so many men dentistry practices. So I would like to have him from that perspective of the franchise.
I like that. What's his name?
Jesus, if you wouldn't have asked me, I could tell you. I literally looked him up and added him on LinkedIn.
Men Dentistry CEO.
Yeah,
okay.
I would have him.
I'll give you a pass on that.
I definitely would have Bill Gates, more so for the charity aspect.
Okay.
I would have Oprah, more so to pick her brain from the diversity aspect, how she's been able to kind of break into a whole nother realm of people that don't
give away cars.
We're not giving away cars. And so that's 3. 4, of course, my brother. The street wisdom. So I would definitely have him there. And 5, gotta make this one a good one. Who would be the 5th person at the table? The best to ever do it. That is so hard. So my brain is going back and forth between Warren Buffett and, sadly, Jay-Z. I don't know why.
Nothing sad about that. He's a billionaire too.
Yeah, it's like going back and forth. I would probably say Jay-Z. And more so just from the all walks of life aspect. I think he literally has tapped into every angle that you can, from being, from the streets, and then now being in the business side and learning how to have poison tact when he does the things that he does when people are ranting and raving about, like, why aren't they acting out? And there's always calculated. It's always calculated.
It's a blueprint.
Yes. So yeah, probably the best to ever do it.
That's good. That's real good. Yeah. So, you know, this is the Vision Lab, right? What is the long-term vision for One Dr. Hall?
The long-term vision for Dr. Hall is to allow the business to flow and grow while I'm asleep. For me not to have to be able to physically be there, for me to be able to delegate and basically put a golden alignment in a whole lot of cities all over the place, all over the U.S., worldwide too.
I have a feeling that you not only will achieve that, but I don't think you'll be able to sleep, even though that may be the goal. You seem like you have to be involved in some capacity.
I think if I have to be involved, it's probably going to be on more so the charity aspect. When I was a little kid and I used to read the encyclopedia, I found out what a philanthropist was. And I was like, I'm going to be that. I didn't know that I had to have a job to get the money first to be that. But I was like, I'm going to be that. And so when I pray at night, I often pray that God blesses me so that I can be a blessing unto others. Wow. I don't desire to be a multi-billionaire because I want to, like, go buy a Lamborghini or buy, you know, a $2.3 million house. It's more so for me to see those businesses that want to start and don't know how they're going to start because they were like me. A small girl from John Barrow, graduated from high school, and my mom said, you just get out of school, don't have no kids. When I said I'm going to college, she said, what's that? How you going to go? Because there was no opportunity. And so for someone to create that opportunity, I just want to have the means, you know, to create those opportunities for others.
Okay, Tiff, if you were a book, what would be the title of your book?
How to Do Life.
I like it.
Who would play you in a movie?
Gabrielle Union. I'm quite comical.
Are you?
Huh.
That's hilarious.
And she is too. I mean, have you guys seen her social media?
She's snappy though.
I am too.
She's snappy with it. I don't know if it's comical. She's more like she's got a very sharp edge to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we ask this question to every single guest that jumps into the lab with us. In case you didn't know, we do have a magical time machine. So, what advice would you be giving yourself from 5 years ago?
Trust the process.
Okay, Joelle.
Trust the process, because I didn't. Remember that faith and preparation equals results.
Faith and preparation equals
so
results.
When faith meets preparation, it equals results. And I've always been prepared, but just didn't have the faith. So had I been able to tell myself that 5 years ago, I probably would have had multiple practices all over the place by now. I wouldn't have started so late.
Well, we wouldn't be on the show with you, possibly.
Everything happened for a reason. He was meant to be here today.
I agree.
All right, now we're going to fast forward the clock 5 years from now. What advice would the older version of yourself, what advice are you giving yourself today? Have
fun. Enjoy the moment.
Remember that. You just said it.
Enjoy the fruits of my labor.
How? You don't sleep.
Maybe Dubai in September for my birthday.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the lab. Such a treat, delight. Shout out to my soror for doing it big. Thank you for being a great representation and an example for young women, young black women all over the world. It's been absolutely a treat. So, to all of our visionaries, thank you for tuning in. If you like the content that you heard, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Remember, each one of our guests are dropping nuggets of wisdom here on the Trail of Life. Ultimately, my friends, it's up to you to pick them up.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you again to Dr. Tiphanie Hall, here the CEO, practitioner, all the above at Golden Alignment PLLC. We'll see you guys next week on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.